The city sang. It was not a metaphor. Lumeris did not have music. It was music. The towers of spun crystal, rising like frozen sound waves, resonated with the planet's core. The avenues, paved in thrumming quartz, pulsed with a low, soothing harmony that guided the flow of citizens and commerce. As an interplanetary ecosystem engineer, Aiden Park had stabilized atmospheres on worlds of choking dust and balanced the volatile chemistries of sulfur seas. But Lumeris was the first world that required him to be a tuner. His mission, now complete, had been to harmonize the discordant frequencies of human commerce with the planet's natural resonance. He had spent 6 standard months charting the key of the city, teaching Earth cargo freighters how to approach their landings as a supporting base rather than a clanging interruption. He had succeeded. Trade was stable. The crystal architecture no longer shuddered when a human ship entered orbit. He was done. And he was profoundly, deeply, and desperately ready to go home. Aiden stood in his temporary quarters, a high spire apartment gifted to him by the Empress. The walls were pale blue crystal, and they hummed at a perfect, calming C-sharp. He had been packing the same, small, synthetic leather bag for an hour, which was ridiculous. His real belongings were already dematerialized and stored for transport. This bag was just for the things that felt like Earth. Aiden, your cortisol levels are elevated by 8% compared to your departure baseline, a voice said, clear as a bell, inside his head. Your respiration is shallow, and your focus has lapsed. You have now folded that same shirt 3 times. Statistically, the shirt is not the problem. Aiden sighed, dropping the shirt onto the resonant silk bed. I am aware, Mira. Thank you for the medical update. And the sarcasm. It is not sarcasm, Aiden. It is data. As your integrated neural AI, my primary function is to optimize your performance. Your current performance is suboptimal. My secondary function, as your designated companion, is to point out that you are brooding. I am not brooding, Aiden said, picking up a small, foil-wrapped ration bar. I am anticipating. You are anticipating a 4-week cryosleep journey back to a planet of chaotic noise, allergens, and inefficient gravity. Your attachment to Earth is noted in your file under potentially counterproductive sentimentality. Also, that bar expired 2 years ago. It is the idea of the bar, Mira. He tucked it into the bag. He was an expert diplomat and a brilliant engineer. But he was also a man who missed the smell of rain on hot pavement. Lumeris, for all its beauty, was a sterile, perfect symphony. He missed noise. He missed imperfection. He also carried a secret that made the perfect harmony of Lumeris feel like a weight. His diplomatic credentials were real, but they were a cover. Aiden Park was a key-bearer. He was one of a handful of humans who carried the dormant signature of Auralis, the ancient, almost mythical human technology that had seeded countless worlds millennia ago. Auralis was the original song, the base code that taught rocks how to resonate and atmospheres how to hold life. He was its inheritor, its guardian. His job was to travel the systems, disguised as a technician or a diplomat, and ensure these ancient seeds remained undisturbed, to intervene only in the most absolute, dire strait emergencies. Lumeris pulsed with Auralis. He felt it the moment he landed. It was deep, asleep, but undeniably present beneath the planet's core. His entire mission had been a painful exercise in self-control, walking on a holy site while pretending to be a simple tourist. He had done his job. He had not touched the sleeping power, and now he was leaving. It was a profound relief. Your transport is cleared for departure in 2 hours. Aiden, Berth 42. You should begin your final disengagement from the Lumerian grid. Right, Aiden said, zipping the bag. Final courtesies. One last check-in with the palace, and we are gone. I have already filed the digital paperwork. No further interaction is required. The Empress Seraphine Kale has been notified of your departure. Still, Aiden said, it feels rude not to. Aiden. Mira's tone became clinically sharp, the way she did when she was impersonating a doctor. Your psychological need for closure is conflicting with operational efficiency. You do not like goodbyes. She is an empress. She is busy. Let us just go. He was about to argue when the wall of his apartment chimed. It was not his earth interface. The wall itself, the blue crystal, shifted its harmony into a complex, trilling melody. A summons. Well, this is irregular, Mira noted. That is the Empress's private frequency. Not her diplomatic channel. Hers. Aiden straightened his tunic. The simple gray fabric of his diplomatic corps uniform felt suddenly inadequate. Put it through, Mira! The music did not stop. It shaped itself into words. A voice, clear and resonant as the room itself, spoke. Mr. Park, your departure is premature. We require your presence at the spire, immediately. It was not a request. The Imperial Spire was the center of the city, a single, impossibly tall shard of white crystal that seemed to sing in a key all its own. Aiden's transport docked smoothly, and he was escorted by guards whose crystalline armor chimed softly with every step. They were silent, their faces hidden behind masks of polished stone. The throne room was not a room, but a cavern of light. The ceiling was open to the Lumerian sky, and the throne was a simple, massive block of uncut, humming quartz. Upon it sat the Empress Seraphine Kale. She was, as always, breathtaking. Not for her beauty, though she possessed it, but for her control. She was the conductor of Lumeris. Her dark hair was bound in crystalline rings, and her robes seemed woven from solidified sound. When she was calm, the city sang in harmony. When she was agitated, the lower city reported tremors. Seated in a semicircle below her were the members of the resonant stone conclave, elders, priests, and military leaders who held the true ceremonial and martial power. They were the ones Aiden had truly negotiated with. They were also the ones who clearly distrusted him. Their collective hum was a low, discordant drone of suspicion. Aiden walked to the center of the chamber and bowed. Your Majesty, you summoned me. I was preparing for my departure. So we were informed, Seraphine said. Her voice was quiet, yet it filled the massive space, silencing the ambient hum of the conclave. It is this departure that we must discuss. It cannot be permitted. Aiden blinked. He kept his posture relaxed, the perfect image of a surprised but polite diplomat. Your Majesty, my work is complete. The trade channels are stable. The final harmonic adjustments were filed with your engineers this morning. My ship is waiting. Your work is complete, Mr. Park. Seraphine agreed, rising from the throne. She descended the few steps, her movements fluid, the sound of her robes like wind chimes. But your presence is not. The rites of coronation are unfinished. Your attendance is required. Aiden maintained his smile, but his mind was racing. Mira, analysis, rites of coronation, diplomatic participation requirements. Searching, Mira's voice replied instantly. The Lumerian rites are a 4-cycle process, celebrating the Empress's ascension. According to the public record, her ascension was 5 years ago. The rites concluded 4 years and 11 months ago. She is lying. Aiden. This is a fabrication. Empress, Aiden said gently. With all due respect, I was under the impression your coronation was long since finalized. My role here was purely technical. A low, grating sound came from the conclave, a hum of displeasure. Seraphine did not look at them. Her eyes were fixed on Aiden. And it was in that moment, up close, that he saw what the diplomatic distance had hidden. The Empress of Lumeris was terrified. Her skin was pale beneath its iridescent sheen. Her hands, clasped in front of her, were held so tightly her knuckles were white. Her eyes were not the eyes of a ruler giving a command. They were the eyes of someone pleading. "The final rites," she said, her voice dropping, losing its regal projection, "were postponed. They were, and they resume tonight. As the architect of the new human-Lumerian accord, your presence is essential to the ritual. You cannot leave." This was not protocol. This was desperation. "Your Majesty," Aiden began, stepping forward. "Seraphine, is something wrong?" The use of her name, a name he had only ever used in private, friendly negotiations, was a mistake. She flinched, as if struck. The air in the room dropped a full octave, becoming a threatening growl. The conclave members rose as one, their stone masks vibrating with anger. Seraphine raised a hand, and the sound cut off, leaving a ringing silence. She looked at him, her face once again the perfect, unreadable mask of an empress. But her eyes still held his. "Do not go." "Mr. Park," she said, her voice now cold and formal. "You are an honored guest of Lumeris, but you are still subject to our laws. The rites will be completed. You will attend. You are forbidden from leaving the planet until they are done. That is the word of Lumeris." It was a cage, delivered with perfect courtesy. Aiden bowed again, lower this time. He was trapped. He could not cause a diplomatic incident by fleeing, but he also could not stay. Not with the Oralis core humming beneath his feet. Not with this strange, frightened woman holding him here with a lie. "As you command, Your Majesty," he said, his voice level. "I will await your summons for the rites." He turned and walked from the chamber. The silence of the conclave at his back feeling heavier and more dangerous than their anger. He felt Seraphine's eyes on him until the great crystal doors hummed shut, sealing him out. He was halfway back to his quarters, his mind racing through diplomatic loopholes and emergency extraction scenarios, when the city screamed. It was not a hum, or a song, or a chord. It was a shatter, a single, piercing, agonizing note of wrongness that tore through the city's harmony. Aiden staggered, clutching his head as his neural interface reeled from the psychic feedback. The crystal walls around him flickered, their inner light dimming. Aiden Mira's voice was sharp, cutting through his pain. Sonic explosion. High energy, focused vector. "Where?" Aiden gasped, leaning against a now-mute wall. The city's ambient song was gone, replaced by a terrified, wailing silence. The port, the civilian spaceport, the source, centered on berth 42. Aiden's blood ran cold. "My ship." The explosion was precisely calibrated. A sonic crystal resonance charge. It targeted the berth, not the surrounding structures. Minimal collateral damage, maximum target destruction. "Who?" The immediate public broadcast from the conclave is blaming spectral nomads. Nomads. Aiden pushed off the wall and started to run. His diplomatic calm shattered. "Nomads use chaotic, untuned energy bursts. You said this was precise, calibrated." It was. Aiden. Exceptionally so. He arrived at the port to chaos. Guards were everywhere, their crystal armor flashing warning lights. Civilians were running, crying. The air thrummed with fear. Berth 42 was gone. It was not a smoking crater of fire and metal. It was a void, a patch of absolute silence. The ground, the gantries, the refueling lines, everything had been pulverized into fine, non-resonant dust. His ship, his ticket home, had simply ceased to exist. A Lumerian guard, a captain by his markings, held up a hand. "The port is sealed, human." This is a restricted area. That was my berth, Aiden said, his voice flat. My ship. The captain's eyes widened slightly behind his visor. He looked at Aiden with new suspicion. The attack was by spectral nomads. You are lucky to be alive. Lucky, Aiden repeated, walking past the guard, who was too surprised to stop him. He stood at the edge of the silent void. He could feel the wrongness of it. It was like a hole torn in the world's music. Mira, he whispered, his eyes scanning the perimeter. The nomads did not do this. You said it was precise. Give me the resonance map. Show me the signature of the blast. Aiden, it is irregular. Show me. The data flooded his mind. Not as a number, but as a shape, a sound, a color. Mira was right. Lumerian weapons were sonic scalpels, designed to separate a person from their own resonant frequency. This was a hammer. It was brutal, effective, and utterly devoid of artistry. It was a pattern he had seen before. It was an algorithm. It was human. The signature profile is a 99.87% match. Aiden, Mira said, her voice now as cold as the void in front of him. It matches the proprietary demolition charges used by the Atlas Corporation. Atlas, the most ruthless resource conglomerate in the galaxy. The same corporation that had vied for the exclusive mining rights to Lumeris. A bid Aiden's own diplomatic report had advised the Empress to deny. They had not just tried to kill him. They had tried to kill him, failed, and were now letting the spectral nomads take the blame. It was a message, an attempt to destabilize, to sow chaos. To show the Empress what happened when she listened to human diplomats who were not on their payroll. Aiden looked up from the dust, across the panicked city, to the single white spire of the palace. Seraphine. Her eyes, filled with fear. Her lie, transparent and desperate. You cannot leave. She had not been lying to trap him. She had been lying to save his life. She knew. She must have known Atlas was here. She knew they would target him. And she had used the only tool she had, her royal authority, to keep him off that ship. Aiden, Mira said softly. Your heart rate is 130. Your adrenaline is critical. You are not safe here. No, Aiden said, his voice quiet. He turned away from the destruction of his ship. He was no longer a diplomat eager to go home. He was a keybearer on a world that was under attack. And he was a man who had just been saved by a terrified queen. Mira, cancel my departure request. It is rather definitively canceled. Aiden. Cancel my intent to depart, he clarified, his voice hardening. Send a message to the Imperial Spire. Use my official, high-priority diplomatic channel. Inform Her Majesty, the Empress Seraphine Kale, that I am unharmed, and that I gratefully accept her invitation to the rites of coronation. Aiden. What are you doing? This is not our mission. This is an Atlas internal matter. They made it our mission when they used a human signature, Aiden said, starting to walk, his pace fast and purposeful, back toward the palace. They are framing the nomads, but they are trying to start a war, and she is in the middle of it. He looked at the spire, a beacon in the now troubled sky. He had to know what she knew. He had to know why Atlas was willing to assassinate a diplomat to get what it wanted. And, though he would not admit it to Mira, he had to see the look in Seraphine's eyes when she learned he was not running. He was staying, just for one more night. The silence of the blast zone was a sound in itself. It was an anti-resonance, a patch of reality that had been violently forced to stop. Aiden stood at the edge, the dust of his ship settling on his boots, while the city behind him slowly found its voice again, a low, discordant hum of panic. It is a two-edged sword, Aiden said, his voice quiet. Clarify the metaphor. Aiden, Mira said in his head. Your pulse is still elevated. I recommend a sedative. No sedative. Think. Mira. The explosion. It was designed to do two things at once. He crouched, brushing his fingers near the edge of the dust. It was inert, lifeless. One, assassinate me. A human diplomat who just filed a report recommending against Atlas Corporation's mining interests. Plausible. Your report cost them an estimated 90 billion credits in potential futures. 2. Aiden continued, standing up and looking toward the city, where the lights of the Conclave's military wing were already flashing, creating a perimeter. It fails. I am saved by a lucky delay. Who gets blamed? The spectral nomads. The boogeyman. What does that do? It creates a crisis. It suggests the current administration cannot protect the city or its foreign dignitaries. It incites a desire for a stronger, more martial hand. Exactly. A knife aimed at me. But the blood it spills is meant to stain Seraphine's authority. Aiden's analysis was proven correct less than an hour later. He was not escorted back to his apartment, but to a secure observation chamber near the conclave. It was a cold room, the crystal walls tuned to a flat, emotionless F minor that set his teeth on edge. Through a one-way observation screen, he watched the emergency session of the Resonant Stone Conclave. It was a symphony of outrage, all of it orchestrated by one man, Regent Malvec. Malvec was a presence. He was built like a resonant pillar, a Lumerian of old blood, with a voice that could crack stone. His military uniform was not the light, chiming armor of the palace guards, but heavy, dark basalt that absorbed sound, making him a point of silence in the room. He radiated a power that was the opposite of Seraphine's not harmony, but control. An attack in our most secure port, Malvec's voice boomed, the crystals in the chamber vibrating sympathetically. A human diplomat nearly executed on our soil. And why? He slammed a fist on the stone rail. Because our Empress invites this chaos. She negotiates with these off-worlders. She allows their noise to infect our city. She turns down secure contracts with strong human partners, like Atlas. And in return, her chosen human advisor is targeted by human-bred chaos. A clever reversal, Mira noted. He is blaming you for being attacked. He is also conveniently omitting that Atlas is the attacker. This suggests he is either ignorant or complicit. My money is on complicit, Aiden murmured, leaning against the cold wall. This weakness, Malvec continued, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial rumble, cannot be tolerated. The spectral nomads are a symptom, but the disease is this open-door policy. I propose Resolution 9, full martial authority over all off-world ports, a security review of all standing treaties, and a temporary protective sequestration of all non-Lumerian personnel, starting with Mr. Park. The conclave hummed in agreement. Aiden felt the lock on his door engage with a heavy, sonic thud. He was no longer a guest. He was a prisoner. Well, this complicates your plan to stay one more night, Mira said. I am now classifying our mission status as compromised. We are in hostile territory. We were in hostile territory the moment we landed. Mira, I just did not know it. Aiden crossed his arms. The question is, how do we get out of this room? He did not have to wait long. The debate in the conclave chamber was still raging when a new sound made its way through the wall. It was not a key. It was not a code. It was a single, pure note that slipped between the room's F minor hum. It was Seraphine's private frequency, the one she had used to summon him. The lock disengaged. Aiden looked at the door. She is in a conclave session. She cannot be here. It seems, Mira said, the Empress is better at multitasking than we anticipated. I would advise moving quickly before Regent Malvec decides to check on his new pet. Aiden slipped out of the room into an empty corridor. The palace was not on lockdown. Malvek's authority was not yet total. He moved quickly, a ghost in the singing hallways. Mira, I need to get to the blast site, the real one, not the public square. I need the data core from the Port Authority. Accessing the data core will require level 5 clearance. Only the Empress or the Conclave leadership can grant that. Or, Aiden said, we can ask nicely. He found Seraphine, not in the throne room, but in a small, private meditation chamber he had never seen before. The walls were made of dark, unlit crystal, and the only sound was the faint hum of the city's core. She was standing in the center, not in her imperial robes, but in a simple white shift. She was not wearing her crystalline rings. Her dark hair was loose. She looked small, and she looked relieved. Mr. Park, she breathed, her hand going to her chest. You are safe. For now, Aiden said, foregoing the bow. There was no time. Regent Malvek has me under protective sequestration, which is a very polite way of saying I am a suspect. He is using the attack. He is using me to strip you of your power. I know what Malvek is doing, she said, her voice tight with anger. He has been waiting for an opportunity. You were not meant to be part of this. He is not the only one. The signature on that bomb, Seraphine. It was human. It was an Atlas Corporation demolition charge. They tried to kill me. Seraphine's face did not register surprise. It hardened with a deep, old grief. So, it is as I feared. They have grown bold. You knew, Aiden stated. It was not a question. Your rites of coronation. That was a lie to keep me off that ship. It was, she admitted, turning away to face the dark crystal wall. A weak, desperate lie. But it was all I had. We have been monitoring Atlas transmissions. We heard whispers, chatter of removing the obstacle. I thought the obstacle was your report. I did not realize it was you. Why did you not warn me? Why not just tell me I was in danger? She turned back, her eyes flashing. And what would you have done? Aiden, you would have run. You would have demanded an escort. You would have left, and they would have shot you down in orbit. I could not risk that. So I bound you with ceremony. I am sorry, but I am not sorry you are alive. The sincerity in her voice was disarming. He had been ready for a political operator. He had not been ready for this. They are framing the spectral nomads, Aiden said, softening his tone. Malvek is using the nomads as an excuse to seize control. He is blaming all humans for a crisis Atlas created. It is a brilliant, vicious strategy. It is, she agreed. And I have no way to fight it. The Conclave respects strength. They see my diplomacy as weakness. Malvek offers them an enemy they can fight. I offer them only complex truths, and no one has patience for those. Then we need to give them a simple one. We need proof. Proof. That it was Atlas, not the nomads. I need access to the Luminous Archive. Seraphine recoiled. The archive that is impossible. It is the most sacred place in Lumeris. It is our collective memory. It records everything. Every pulse of light. Every resonance. It is not for off-worlders. The signature of the blast, Seraphine. It is in there. The song of that explosion is recorded in the archive right now. I can isolate it. I can run a comparison. I can prove, definitively, that it matches the Atlas signature. Give them that, and Malvek's entire argument collapses. She hesitated, her hands twisting in front of her. The Conclave would never allow it. Malvek would call it sacrilege. Then do not ask them, Aiden said, taking a step closer. You are the Empress. You brought me here to save my life. Now let me help you save yours." Their eyes locked. He was asking her to break her most sacred law. He was asking her to trust a human in a way no Lumerian Empress ever had. "The conclave is in emergency session," she said finally, her voice barely a whisper. "They will be deliberating for hours. Malvek will be grandstanding. The archive will be unguarded." She walked to the wall and pressed her palm against the dark crystal. A section of it hummed and dissolved, revealing a small, glowing resonance key. She handed it to him. "It will only get you through the outer doors," she said. "The archive. It responds to the user. It may not. Accept you." "I will take that chance," Aiden said, closing his hand around the warm, humming key. "One more thing," Seraphine said as he turned to leave. "The archive. It shows everything. The truth. Be careful what you seek. Aiden Park. The past is not always as dead as we believe." The luminous archive was not a library. It was a forest. Aiden stepped inside, and the door hummed shut behind him. He was in a vast, open cavern where the ceiling was a galaxy of tiny, captured stars. But they were not stars. They were memories, beams of light, miles high, pulsed with information. And the trees were massive, crystalline structures that chimed and sang as the light memories flowed through them. "This is extraordinary," Mira said, her voice fused with genuine awe. "The data processing capacity is... I cannot quantify it. It is organic. It is a living database. Seraphine was right. This is their collective soul." "And we are about to violate it," Aiden said, moving down a glowing pathway. "Mira, I need you to find the index. Where do they store recent high-energy resonance events?" "That is the problem. Aiden, there is no index. There are no search fields. It is all... song. You do not search the archive. You... listen for what you need." Aiden stopped. "Listen, Mira. I am an engineer. I do not listen for data. You may have to learn. Focus." The blast had a unique signature, a sound of wrongness. "Can you... hum it, hum it. You cannot be serious." "Do you have a better idea?" Aiden sighed. He closed his eyes. He thought back to the port, to the silence, the anti-resonance, the violent, hammering algorithm. He focused on it, and in his mind, he pushed. The forest of light responded. A single, brilliant beam of white light, thick as a starship, detached from the ceiling and descended, stopping a foot in front of him. It pulsed with a sickening, silent rhythm. It was the memory of the explosion. "Okay, I have it," Aiden whispered, his hand hovering over the light. "Mira, get ready to record. I am going to interface." He touched the light. His mind exploded. He was not in the archive. He was at the port. He saw the charge, a complex crystal device, humming on the gantry. He felt the countdown. He was the explosion, the shattering, the unmaking. The signature was there, clear as day. It was not just Atlas. It was Atlas, modified. It was... Aiden Mira's voice screamed in his head, pulling him back. "Aiden, stop, your neural pathways are overloading." "It is too much data." Aiden fell back, gasping, onto the crystal floor. "I got it," he panted. "I got the signature. Run the match." "Running. Running." "It is a match. Aiden. 100%. It is the Atlas charge. But it is more than that. It was amplified, tuned. It was modified with Lumerian technology." Aiden sat up. "Modified. So Atlas has help. Someone on the inside. Someone who knows how to turn their tech into a true sonic weapon. It is the only logical conclusion. Someone provided Malvek, or his faction, with the key. So Malvek is not just an opportunist. He is a traitor. He helped orchestrate. Aiden stopped. His skin prickled. He was a key-bearer. His senses, when it came to Oralis, were acute. And he felt something in the archive. Something else. It was hidden. Mira, he said slowly. When I touched that memory, I felt a secondary layer. A signal beneath the signal. It felt like a lullaby. Mira finished for him. Her voice was strange, distant. I detected it too. A 0.001% deviation in the data stream. A compressed file, hidden in the carrier wave. I am isolating it now. What is it? I do not know. Aiden, the encryption is ancient. It is not Lumerian. It is not Atlas. It looks like ours, Aiden said, his heart pounding. Oralis. Yes. How did you know? Because I can read it, Aiden whispered. He looked at the code Mira was projecting into his vision. It was not just code. It was music. A simple, 5-note melody. A nursery rhyme. Aiden. I am cross-referencing this encryption with my own core programming. There is a locked file. A deep memory protocol. This lullaby is a key. It is a key-bearer verification signal. What does it unlock? Access denied. Access denied. Access. Mira's voice went silent for 3 full seconds. When she spoke again, her tone was different. Not just an AI. Not just a companion. She sounded vast. The Luminous Archive is a seed vault of the Oralis network. It has been dormant, waiting. It detected your signature, Aiden. It is waiting for you. This place is not just a library. It is a part of your inheritance. Aiden's blood turned to ice. Mira, lock that down, now. Forget you saw it. Erase the log, if anyone. If Seraphine finds out what I am. I understand. Aiden, the mission is to protect the core. My analysis was flawed, but this changes things. Atlas is not just here for minerals. Malvec is not just trying to stage a coup. They know, or they suspect. They are not trying to control Lumeris. They are trying to open it. Aiden stood up, his mind racing. The minerals, the power, it was all a cover. The true prize was whatever Oralis had left sleeping beneath this planet, and he was the only one with the key. We have to get back to Seraphine, Aiden said, his voice urgent. We have the proof we need, and 1,000 new problems. We have to. A shadow moved in the light forest. Aiden froze. Mira, intruder. I detect no one. The archive is sealed. No, Aiden said, backing away from the light. I saw someone, over there, by the history pillars. A figure stepped out from behind a beam of light. It was tall, slender, and wore a form-fitting suit of black, sound-dampening armor. Its face was a mask of polished, black quartz, completely featureless. It did not hum. It did not chime. It made no sound at all. It was an echo, a Lumerian assassin. The echo did not attack. It simply tilted its head, observing him. So, Aiden said, trying to keep his voice steady. Malvec sent you. Or did Atlas? The echo remained silent. It took a step toward him. Right, Aiden said. Not the chatty type. He was an engineer. He was not a soldier. But, as Mira would say, he was an excellent improviser. Aiden. Lumerian echoes operate on resonance disruption. They will attempt to phase their hand inside your chest and stop your heart. Do not let it touch you. Good advice, Aiden muttered. He looked around. He was in a forest of crystal. He was unarmed. The echo took another silent step, then another, closing the distance with terrifying speed. Aiden did what any good engineer would do. He looked for a tool. He saw it. To his left, a cluster of small, pillar-like crystals was chiming a complex melody, an archive of a royal celebration. It was high-pitched, very high-pitched. The echo lunged, its hand a black blur. Aiden did not try to block. He dived to the side, rolling. He grabbed the base of the celebration crystal. It was about 2 feet tall and heavy. The echo was already turning, its movements impossibly fluid. "Hey!" Aiden shouted. The echo paused. Humans were not supposed to be loud. "Think fast!" Aiden yelled, and he hurled the celebration crystal with all his strength. Not at the echo, but at the massive, pulsating crystal tree right behind it, the one that held the memory of the city's geological formation. A deep, bass-heavy, tectonic-level hum. The small, high-pitched celebration crystal struck the massive, low-pitched geological crystal. The resulting sound was obscene. It was the shriek of a high C colliding with a subsonic G-flat. The archive screamed in pain. A wave of pure, dissonant, agonizing sound erupted from the impact. The echo, an assassin tuned to perfect silence, was caught in the center. It clutched its black, featureless mask as the sound wave hit. Its armor, designed to absorb sound, was overwhelmed. It vibrated violently, shaking itself apart. The assassin fell to its knees, writhing, as the pure, chaotic noise, anathema to all Lumerian life, tore it apart from the inside. Aiden covered his own ears, but the sound was in his bones. It was the worst thing he had ever heard. The sound stopped. The echo was still. Aiden approached cautiously. The assassin was slumped on the ground. Its armor cracked. It was not moving. Vitals. None. Mira reported, her voice shaken. You defeated it. With acoustic feedback. That is not in any Lumerian combat manual. That is human, Aiden said, breathing heavily. It is messy, it is loud, and it works. It is called improvisation. We are very good at it. He looked at the unholy mess he had made in the most sacred place on the planet. Seraphine is going to kill me. Perhaps not, Mira said. Look, in its hand. Aiden bent down. The echo was clutching something. He pried the black gauntlet open. Lying in its palm was a small, sharp shard of crystal. Etched into it, glowing with a faint, regal light, was a symbol. What is it? Aiden asked. It is the personal sigil of the Empress Seraphine Kale. Aiden stared at the sigil. It was a frame-up, a perfect one. If the echo had succeeded in killing him, this would have been found on his body. If the echo was caught, this would be found. A dead human diplomat, an assassin carrying the Empress's own mark. Malvek, Aiden breathed. He is not just staging a coup. He is building a case for regicide. He is framing her for my murder. He closed his fist around the shard. The faint warmth from Seraphine's resonance key was still in his other pocket. He was caught between them. He had come to Lumeris to tune an economy. He had stayed to solve a murder. Now he was in a conspiracy that went to the very top and the very bottom of this world. Aiden, Mira said, her voice now back to its normal, calm, clinical self. We have the Atlas proof. We have the assassin. We have the frame-up. What is the plan? Aiden looked at the doorway. He thought of Seraphine, in her chamber, looking small and afraid. He thought of her trusting him with the key. He thought of her eyes, which were not just afraid, but something else. Something he did not want to name. He had to keep his distance. This was political. This was a mission. Getting emotional was how you got compromised. Getting emotional was how you died. But he also thought of Malvek's smug, assured face in the conclave chamber. He thought of the cold, arrogant silence of the echo. "The plan," Aiden said, pocketing the crystal shard. "The plan is, we stop hiding. We are not diplomats anymore. Mira, we are not protective guests." He started walking, his steps sure and heavy, toward the exit. "We are the evidence." Aiden did not knock. He used the resonance key Seraphine had given him, and the door to her meditation chamber dissolved with a worried hum. He strode in, his face grim, his boots tracking the inert dust of the archive's floor. Seraphine was pacing. She stopped, her hands flying to her mouth when she saw him. "Aiden, you are unharmed. The archive. I felt it. A terrible noise." "It was a necessary noise," Aiden said, his voice flat. He walked directly to her and held out his hand. In his palm lay the black crystal sigil, glowing with her authority. This was in the assassin's hand. She looked at the sigil, then at his face. She did not recoil. She did not gasp. Her expression was one of profound, terrible confirmation. A single tear traced a path down her cheek, and the air in the room grew cold. "So," she whispered, her voice fracturing, "it is happening again. Again." Aiden's anger softened, replaced by a cold dread. "Seraphine, what does this mean? He was sent to kill me. He was carrying this to frame you for my murder." "He was not the first," she said, turning away from him. She walked to the dark crystal wall, placing her hand against it. "My father, 5 years ago. The official record says his heart song failed, that his resonance with Lumeris faded." "That is not what happened," Aiden said, already knowing the answer. "No." Her voice was pure ice. "He was murdered, assassinated in his private chambers. There was no wound, no poison, just a dissonance, a sound that should not exist. His guards found him." His heart shattered. The crystal throne cracked by the force. She took a shaky breath. "But there was one thing, a fragment, a piece of the weapon, embedded in the wall. Our archivists could not identify it. It was like the bomb at the port. It was not Lumerian. It was brutal. It was loud. It was human." "Atlas," Aiden breathed. "I suspected," she said, her fist clenching. "They had just lost the mining bid. My father had called their representative an empty-throated barbarian. A week later, he was dead. But I had no proof. The conclave, led by Malvek, ruled it an accident. They said I was grieving, that I was paranoid. They pushed me to sign a new, smaller contract with Atlas, to stabilize relations. I refused." "This is not about minerals," Aiden said, his mind racing, connecting the dots. The bomb at the port, the assassin, her father's murder, and Mira, he said, his voice low. "The lullaby. The Oralis file you found in the archive." "Aiden, it is not a good time," Mira replied instantly, her voice tight in his head. "We are in a compromised position. It is the only time. What is the Oralis vault? Vault Aiden. I advised—" "Seraphine," Aiden interrupted, his eyes locked on hers. "When I was in the archive, I found something else. A hidden signal. A human signal. Ancient. It calls itself Oralis. Atlas is not just trying to kill you. They are trying to open something." Seraphine turned, her eyes wide with a new, deeper terror than before. "The vault. How? How do you know that name? It is forbidden. It is a myth. It is real. It is beneath this palace. And it is the true source of this planet's power. Is it not the seed you all grew from?" "It is. The origin," she whispered, her hands trembling. It is the heart song. It is not to be opened. Ever. The ancestors. My father. They believed it was the source. Yes, but also the final measure. To try and control it. To open it. It would be catastrophic. Mira's voice cut in, suddenly loud and clinical, broadcasting not just to Aiden, but to Seraphine as well. Aiden flinched as Mira's voice filled the room, a disembodied, perfect human tone. Seraphine gasped, stumbling back. Who said that? My apologies. Your Majesty. Mira's voice said smoothly. I am Mira, Mr. Park's neural AI, and you are both correct. I have been cross-referencing the Lumerian geological charts with the Oralis data I acquired. The vault is a terraforming engine of immense, almost incomprehensible power. It is not a vault of treasure. It is a vault, as in a compression chamber. It is holding the entire resonant structure of the system in balance. What does that mean? Aiden demanded. It means, Mira said, her voice chillingly precise, that if Atlas, or Malvec, or anyone else, tries to open that vault with the wrong key, or with no key at all, they will not just fail. They will break the harmony, the entire planet. Every tower, every street, every citizen. You will all break song. It will be an extinction-level event. Lumeris will collapse into dust like a choir hitting a single, fatal, impossible note. The silence that followed was heavier than any sound. Aiden looked at Seraphine. She was pale, but the fear in her eyes was being replaced by a cold, hard resolve, the resolve of a queen. So, she said, this is not just a coup. It is planetary annihilation, wielded by greedy men, and the only things standing in their way are a human engineer, his talking ghost, and an Empress with no army. You have an army, Aiden said. It is just fighting the wrong war. You have the Royal Guard. They are loyal to you. My guard, Seraphine said with a bitter laugh, are ceremonial. They are trained for ritual combat, for the Song of Steel. They are musicians, Aiden. Malvec's forces are soldiers, and these, echoes, they are monsters. My guard would be slaughtered. Then we teach them a new song, Aiden said, a glint in his eye. A human one. The training took place in a sealed, soundproof chamber deep beneath the palace. Seraphine had handpicked 12 of her most loyal guards. They were tall, proud, and utterly baffled. Their crystalline armor chimed as they moved, and they held their elegant resonance blades at perfect attention. Aiden stood before them in his simple diplomatic uniform, next to a cart piled with junk. All right, Aiden said, clapping his hands. Let's begin. First, all of you, take off your armor. The guards looked at each other, their collective hum one of profound offense. Their captain, a tall woman named Thalia, stepped forward. Empress, our armor is our bond. It is tuned to our life song. To remove it is a very good way to get killed, Aiden said, cutting her off. I am sorry, Captain, but your armor is a bell. You are chiming. An echo can hear you coming from a mile away. It is designed for honor. Echoes do not have honor. So, you are going to trade your bells for this. He held up a simple, thick, gray-padded human-made jacket. It is synthetic. It is ugly. It makes no sound. You will hate it. You will wear it. The lesson did not get easier. For 3 days, Aiden and Mira, who provided helpful, sarcastic audio cues, deconstructed centuries of Lumerian martial arts. No, Aiden said, stopping a guard from a complex, spinning strike. That is beautiful. You look incredible. You are also dead. An echo does not care about your form. It just wants to stop your heart. Stop spinning. Just punch it. Hard. But punch it, the guard asked, confused. Where is the song in that? There is no song, that is the point. Aiden was exasperated. This is not a duet. This is a mugging. You are trying to survive. He brought out his secret weapons. This, he said, holding up a small metal canister, is a compressed air horn. On Earth, we use it to celebrate sporting events. It is obnoxious. He pressed the button. A blast of raw, atonal, stupid noise filled the room. The guards collapsed, clutching their heads, their Lumerian senses utterly violated. That, Aiden said, lowering the horn, is your new best friend. An echo is a creature of perfect silence, tuned to perfection. This is imperfection. It is chaos. It is a cheap but effective solution. It will scramble their senses, give you an opening. He held up a small, flashing device. This is a strobe light. We use them at dance parties. It is disorienting. It is annoying. An echo, which processes information at hundreds of times your speed, will find it intolerable. He was teaching them to be human. He was teaching them to be loud, messy, unpredictable, and cheap. He was teaching them to fight dirty. Aiden, Mira said in his head, your methods are unorthodox. Captain Thalia's vitals suggest she is seconds away from either vomiting or arresting you. She will learn, Aiden muttered. She has to. While Aiden trained his new, very confused anti-assassin squad, Malvec's political pressure was becoming unbearable. The port was still closed. The city's harmony was flat, laced with the hum of fear. Malvec had successfully created a crisis, and the conclave was demanding a resolution. He is calling for a vote of no confidence, Seraphine said. She and Aiden were in her private study, the strategic center of their tiny conspiracy. He claims I cannot handle the nomad threat, that my association with you has compromised the city's resonance. The people are afraid. He is feeding that fear. So stop feeding it, Aiden said, looking up from a schematic of the palace tunnels. Give them something else. Do not meet him on his battlefield. Create a new one. What do you mean? He wants you to look like a frightened ruler, hiding in her spire. So, do not throw a party. Seraphine looked at him as if he were insane. Party. A harmonic feast. That is what you call them. Write a show of stability. You go before the people. You lead the city's song. You show them you are not afraid. You show them Lumeris is strong. You change the harmony from fear to confidence. That is incredibly reckless, she said. It is, Aiden agreed. It is also exactly what you need to do. Malvec wants you to hide. Do the opposite. A flicker of her old, regal fire returned. A harmonic feast? Yes. 2. Retune the city, to show that we are not broken. It is a bold move. It could work. It will. And I will be there, Aiden said. Her face fell. No, absolutely not. Aiden, you are the target. You being there. It is an invitation. Exactly, he said, standing up. I am the bait. We know they will not stop. They cannot stop. They need me out of the way, or they need you framed for my murder. So let's encourage them. Let's give them the perfect opportunity. My squad will be there, in their ugly new jackets, blended with the crowd. We will be waiting. She stared at him, caught between terror and a strange, new admiration. You are unlike any man I have ever met. Aiden Park, you are either the bravest or the most foolish. It is a fine line, Aiden said with a small smile. That is another human specialty. The harmonic feast was held in the great plaza, A vast amphitheater of singing stone. Thousands had gathered. The mood was not festive. It was tense. The city's hum was a low, anxious murmur. Seraphine stood on the central dais, in her full imperial robes. She looked magnificent. She raised her hands, and a low, clear note emerged from the stone. She was attempting to lead them, to retune their fear. Aiden stood to her right, as her honored guest. He wore his diplomatic uniform, but underneath, he wore a thin, human-made weave of body armor. His squad, led by Captain Thalia, was dispersed, their new, ugly gear hidden beneath Lumerian cloaks. They were watching, listening. The music was strained. Malvek was there, in the front row, his basalt armor drinking the light, his presence a black hole in the harmony. Seraphine's hand, holding the ceremonial resonance staff, was trembling. Aiden moved, a single step. He stood shoulder to shoulder with her. He did not look at her. He looked out at the crowd, at Malvek. "They are just men," he said, his voice so low only she could hear it. "They are loud, and they are greedy, but they are just men. You are an empress. You are the conductor. Do not let them change your song." She turned her head. Her eyes met his. In that moment, surrounded by thousands, they were the only two people in the plaza. The air between them was electric, a harmony all its own. She saw his belief in her. He saw her courage. "I will not," she whispered. Her hand, he saw, was bleeding. She was gripping the crystal staff so tightly it had cut her. Aiden gently, quickly, reached out. He did not take the staff. He simply placed his hand over hers, his fingers covering the crystal, his skin touching hers. It was a scandal. It was an impossibility. A human, touching the Empress, during the feast. A collective gasp, a discordant shock went through the crowd. "We will not let Lumeris bleed," he vowed, his voice for her alone. "We will not," she replied, her voice strong, and in that instant, the attack came. It was not at Aiden. It was not at Seraphine. A black-clad echo materialized from a shadow near the dais. It did not attack. It threw something. A small, crystal device. "Air horn," Aiden roared. A word that meant nothing to anyone but his team. But it was too late. The device landed at the feet of an old, revered Lumerian sage who was sitting in the front row. A man whose wisdom was legendary. The echo was gone. The device did not explode. It imploded. It created a small, perfect, terrible sphere of silence, just like the one that had destroyed Aiden's ship. It enveloped the sage. The old man looked up, his eyes wide with confusion. He opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came out. And then, he simply dissolved, turned to inert, gray dust. The plaza went silent. Then, the screaming began. The harmony was shattered. It was not a song. It was a riot. The crowd surged, their fear and anger exploding. They were not looking at the empty space where the echo had been. They were looking at Aiden, the human, the off-worlder. They were looking at Seraphine, whose hand was still, scandalously, held by his. He was with her. Someone shrieked. The human. He brought this. He brought the silence. Malvek had won. He had not needed to kill Aiden. He just needed to prove he was a curse. The murder of the sage, an act of pure, calculated terror, was now laid at their feet. They were rushed back to the palace, the sound of the rioting city chasing them. Seraphine collapsed into her throne, her robes torn, her face ashen. "He won," she whispered. He killed Elder Roan. He killed him. And they think we did it. They think I am protecting you. And you are the plague." Guards were pounding on the throne room doors. The conclave, Aiden knew, would be demanding his head. "This is not," Aiden said, his voice a low, cold fury. "How this ends." He walked to the main palace communications hub, a large, crystal console. "Aiden, what are you doing?" Seraphine pleaded. "They are coming for you." "I know." He placed his hand on the console. "Mira, are you in?" "I have been in since we entered the room." "Aiden," her voice said, now coming from the console itself. "The palace network is mine. What is your directive?" "You recorded everything, right in the archive. The blast signature, the Atlas file, the negotiations." "Of course I did. I am a professional." "He just showed his hand," Aiden said, his eyes on the throne room doors, which were beginning to crack under the force of the guards outside. "Now we show ours." "I am not talking to the conclave. I am talking to the city. Broadcast it. All of it. The Atlas bomb signature. The proof. It was not the nomads. And Mira." "Yes, Aiden. Broadcast the recording you took of Malvek negotiating with the Atlas executive." "Aiden," Mira said, a hint of digital glee in her voice. "That is highly classified. That is what we call whistleblowing. Do it now. Every speaker, every public hub, drown out the riot." "I am uploading," Mira said. And then the city changed. The sound of the riot, the angry shouts, the screams. They were overwhelmed. A new sound emerged. A recording. The slick, corporate voice of an Atlas executive. "The destabilization will be complete. We kill the diplomat, blame the nomads." And then, Malvek's voice, cold and powerful. "It is not enough. The Empress is sentimental. She must be implicated. A public display of her failure. Then, the conclave will turn to me. And I will turn to you. And the vault will be ours." Silence. The pounding on the throne room doors stopped. The entire city was listening. Aiden looked at Seraphine. Her face was a mask of shock. You recorded him," she whispered. "You do not fight a man like Malvek with honor," Aiden said. "You fight him with evidence." The doors to the throne room burst open. But it was not a lynch mob. It was Regent Malvek himself, his basalt armor pristine, his face a mask of thunderous rage. Behind him stood the entire, shocked and silent conclave. "You!" Malvek roared, his voice shaking the room. He pointed not at Seraphine, but at Aiden. "You, human, filth, you dare interfere." "He did not interfere, Malvek," Seraphine said, rising from her throne, her voice clear and cold. "He just told the truth, a concept you seem to have forgotten. It is over. The city has heard you." "Heard me," Malvek laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "Heard me, you foolish girl. You think this changes anything?" "Yes, I did it. I did it to protect Lumeris, to protect it from him." He turned his full fury on Aiden. "You think he is your ally?" Malvek bellowed to the conclave. "You think this engineer is here to help you are fools. He is lying. He is the true threat." "Your lies are over, Malvek," Aiden said. "They are not lies," Malvek roared. "This man is more than a diplomat. He is more than human. He is a thief. He has come to steal our very soul. This thing." He raised his arm, his finger trembling as he pointed at Aiden. "He is a key-bearer of Oralis. He is the only one who can open the vault. He is not here to save Lumeris. He is here to take it." 100 gasps. The conclave stared at Aiden. Seraphine stared at Aiden. The color drained from his face. His greatest secret, his sacred trust. It was out. Malvek, cornered and exposed, had just played his final, devastating card. He had, in his desperation, told the absolute truth. The silence in the throne room was absolute. It was not the reverent hush of the luminous archive. It was the breathless, agonizing void of a vacuum. Every member of the conclave, every guard, every citizen listening to the broadcast, held their collective breath. Aiden Park, the man they knew as a polite, quiet engineer, had just been accused of being a god, or a devil. Aiden, Mira said in his head, her voice stripped of all wit. His biometrics are stable. He is not lying. He is not bluffing. He is 100% certain. He knows. Seraphine's eyes were locked on Aiden. Her face was pale, her hand still raised. The question was in her gaze, a silent, desperate plea. Tell me it is not true. Aiden looked at her, and in that moment, he felt a profound, crushing weight. The weight of his secret, the weight of his lineage, and the weight of her trust. He could not lie, not to her, not now. He turned his gaze from Seraphine to Malvek, who stood there, breathing heavily, his face triumphant in his own ruin. He had lost the political battle, but he had just detonated the ultimate bomb. He is right, Aiden said. His voice was not loud, but it cut through the silence like a physical thing. The entire conclave flinched. Seraphine's eyes closed, just for a second, as if in pain. I am a key-bearer, Aiden said, his voice gaining strength. He looked at the shocked faces of the conclave elders. My ancestors, our ancestors, seeded this world. The vault of Oralis is human technology. It is my birthright. Malvek laughed, a harsh, grating sound. You see, he admits it. He is here to take it, to claim ownership of our very planet. He is the true invader. And you, Aiden shot back, his voice like steel. We're going to let Atlas crack it open like a bank safe. You, in your greed, would have let them destroy this world just to feel like a king. You are a traitor. Malvek. But worse, you are a fool. No, Malvek roared, his hand flying to the resonance blade at his hip. I did it to save us. I will still save us. He spun to the captain of his personal guard, a massive Lumerian in dark basalt armor. The conclave is compromised. The Empress is bewitched. Seize the vault. Seize it. In the name of a true Lumeris, kill the human. It was a coup, open, blatant, and final. Malvek's soldiers, who had been waiting for this, drew their weapons. They were not the ceremonial guard. They were Malvek's hardened elite. They slammed their resonance pikes against the floor, and a deep, martial, controlling note thrummed through the palace, shattering the windows. No, Seraphine screamed, her voice a counter-harmony of pure command. My guard, to me protect the Empress. The throne room erupted. It was not a battle. It was a schism. Malvek's dark armored troops crashed against Seraphine's royal guard, but it was no contest. Malvek's forces were brutal, efficient, and fighting with the fury of zealots. Captain Thalia and her small, newly trained team were there, using their air horns and strobe lights, creating pockets of chaos. But they were overwhelmed. Aiden, we have to move, Seraphine yelled, grabbing his arm. She was not a cowering monarch. She was a warrior. She pulled a slim, crystal blade from a sheath hidden in the throne. Where? Aiden yelled back, shoving an elder out of the path of a stray energy blast. To the vault, she said, her eyes flashing. If he wants it, he will have to go through me. He will, Aiden said grimly. That is the entire point. He needs me. He looked at her, his mind racing. Seraphine, listen to me. He is not just seizing the gate. He is seizing me. He needs the key-bearer to open the vault for Atlas. This is not a coup. It is a kidnapping. Her eyes widened in horror. Then we must run. We must. No, Aiden said. We do not run. We win. He wants me. He will get me. But we do it on my terms. Mira. The lullaby. The Oralis code. Where is the vault entrance? Beneath the throne. Aiden, Mira said in his head, her voice now coming from a small comm unit on his wrist, as the palace network was in chaos. The throne itself is the lock. Of course it is, Aiden muttered. Seraphine, I need you to trust me. We are going into the vault. Right now. Into it, she said, her face pale. Aiden, it is forbidden. It is death at will. It will break us. It is the only place he cannot follow without me, Aiden said, pulling her through the fray. And it is the only place where I can win. He shoved her behind the massive, humming quartz block of the throne, as a stray resonance blast vaporized the wall where they had been standing. Malvek, seeing them, was fighting his way toward them, his face a mask of pure hate. The throne is the lock, Aiden said, his hands scanning the ancient stone. How do I open it? Only the Empress can, she said, breathing heavily. With the heart song. It must be sung. There is no time. There is, do it with me, she yelled. She grabbed his hand, the same one he had held at the feast. She pressed his palm against the throne, and then pressed hers over it. Sing, Aiden Park, she commanded. Sing for your life. He did not know the notes. He did not know the harmony, but she did. She closed her eyes and a single, pure note of hope and fear left her lips. He felt it vibrate through her hand, into his. He had no song. He was an engineer, but he was a key bearer. He did not sing with his voice. He sang with his blood. He pushed his will, his fear, his desperation, and his strange, terrifying love for this woman and her impossible world, into the stone. He matched her note, not with sound, but with intent. The quartz throne did not recognize her song. It did not recognize his will. It recognized the harmony of them together. The floor of the throne room split open. A section of the quartz dais dissolved, revealing a staircase of spiraling, white light, descending into an impossible darkness. He is coming, Seraphine yelled. Malvek was only yards away, his blade raised. Go, Aiden yelled, pushing her toward the stairs. Go, go. She scrambled down the steps. Aiden looked back. Malvek lunged, his eyes wide with triumph. You are mine, key-bearer, Aiden grinned, a truly human, deeply annoying grin. Catch me. He dived into the stairwell. The instant his feet left the floor, the quartz sealed above them, plunging them into absolute, ringing silence. They fell. It was not a staircase. It was a grav chute, a tube of pure, humming energy. They were falling, down, down, into the heart of Lumeris. Seraphine was a small, pale shape beside him, her eyes wide with terror. He reached out in the darkness and found her hand. He did not let go. The fall ended as abruptly as it began. They did not land. They were caught. The light returned, soft and white. They were in a vast, circular chamber. It was not a room of crystal. It was a room of metal, clean, white, ancient metal that looked like polished bone. The air was warm, and it pulsed, not with a hum, but with a sound Aiden had not heard in months. A heartbeat, a low, slow thump-thump. The heart song, Seraphine whispered, her hand trembling in his. It is real. It is a power core, Seraphine, Aiden whispered back, his eyes wide with awe. An Oralis fusion core, beating like a living thing. Mira, are you reading this? The energy output is It is. It is impossible. Aiden, Mira's voice replied from his wrist. It is stable. It has been running for, my estimates say, 30,000 years. It is powering the entire planet's ecosystem. The resonance. The everything. In the center of the chamber was a console. It was not crystal. It was a simple, black pedestal, completely dark. He will follow, Seraphine said, her voice echoing in the vast, metallic space. He will tear the palace apart to get to that entrance. He will not have to, Aiden said, walking toward the console. He will find another way. Atlas. They will have their own door. We just bought ourselves time. Mira, I need to take control of this system. Now. How? Seraphine asked, following him. It is. It is not Lumerian. It is mine, Aiden said. He stood before the dark console. He took a deep breath. This was it. The moment his entire life, his entire lineage, had been for. He placed his hand on the console. It remained dark. It is not working, he said, pressing down. Mira, why is it not working? I do not know, Aiden. Your genetic signature is correct. Your keybearer status is confirmed by my own Oralis file. It should be responding. It is dead, Aiden said, frustration rising. After all this? No, Seraphine said, stepping up beside him. It is not dead. It is listening. Like the archive. It is shy. Shy, Aiden said, baffled. It is a 30,000-year-old planetary engine. It is not shy. You touched it like a master, she said softly. Like you owned it. You are not its master, Aiden. You are its descendant. You are its child. Try again. She put her hand on his shoulder. Her touch was warm. Aiden looked at the console. He sighed. This is ridiculous. He closed his eyes. He let go of the engineer, the diplomat. He let go of the anger. He just reached out. He did not command. He did not demand. He just asked, Please, we need your help. He touched the console. This time, it lit up. But it was not a screen. The entire chamber changed. Strings of pure, white light, thin as hair, erupted from the console, from the walls, from the ceiling. They crisscrossed the room in a three-dimensional, impossibly complex web, and they were all connected to him. He could feel them. Some of them went into his chest. They found his heart. The thump-thump of the core was his own heartbeat. Aiden, Seraphine whispered, her face bathed in the web of light. What is? It is reading me, Aiden breathed. It is verifying. My memories. He suddenly gasped, his knees buckling. Aiden, Seraphine cried, catching him. He was not in the chamber. He was in a simulation, a memory. But it was not his. Oralis Test Protocol Moral Vector. Scenario the dam. He was on a walkway. Below him. A massive dam was cracking. Water was pouring through. On one side, a small village. 1,000 people. On the other side, a small, shielded dome. A fusion core. The power source for the entire region. A voice. The same vast, ancient voice as the core spoke in his mind. The dam will fail. Energy cannot be redirected. You can save the village, or you can save the power source. One choice. This is not fair. Aiden yelled, his voice echoing in the simulation. You can save 1,000 lives today, or you can save 100,000 lives tomorrow. Who will rely on that core? He has to choose, he heard a voice say, far away. Aiden, fight it, Seraphine was yelling, her voice distant. I... Aiden looked at the village. He saw children. He saw families, running, screaming. He looked at the core. It was just a machine. A beautiful, powerful, important machine. The Lumerian system depends on the core, key bearer. The choice is logical. Preserve the engine. Preserve the many. No, Aiden said, his voice shaking. Your ancestors built this core. It is your... No, Aiden roared. He slammed his fist on the console in the simulation. It is just a thing. You save the people. You always save the people. You deal with the power outage later. You improvise. You save the people. The simulation vanished. Aiden was on his knees in the vault, gasping, Seraphine holding him. The strings of light were glowing with a warm, golden color. Moral vector human. Verdict acceptable. Verification. Complete. What? What just happened? Seraphine asked, helping him up. I think I just passed, Aiden panted. The system. It is ours. I am in. Not. Entirely. Aiden, Mira's voice chirped from his wrist. You have passed the moral verification. Excellent. Good for you. You are a good person. However, you are now at the administrative interface, and it appears to be locked. Aiden stumbled to the console. The strings of light had faded, replaced by a holographic display on the black pedestal. It was not in Lumerian. It was not in any language he knew. It was a series of riddles, symbols. It is a password, Aiden groaned. A 30,000-year-old password. What? What does it say? Seraphine asked. It is a question, Aiden said, squinting. I think. Mira, can you translate this? It is Oralis protocol. I am already on it, Mira said. It is. Well, it is a riddle. A set of logic puzzles. A logic puzzle to save the world, Seraphine said, outraged. Our ancestors, Aiden said, rubbing his temples, had a very strange sense of humor. Okay, Mira said. Here is the first question. I have a head and a tail, but no body. I have no eyes, but I am found in one. What am I? Aiden and Seraphine stared at the console. A coin, Seraphine offered. Snake, Aiden guessed. Access denied. Security protocol engaged. A red light pulsed in the room. Mira, Aiden yelled. This is not funny. It is not me. Aiden, it is them. They were nerds. Okay. Think head, tail, no body, found in an eye. The eye of a needle, Aiden snapped. No, that is, a comet. A comet. Seraphine asked. Head, tail, no body. Aiden yelled. And, I do not know. They are found in the eye of a telescope. It is a guess. It is. A better guess than snake, Mira said, inputting. The console flashed green. Access. Granted. Secondary layer unlocked. Oh, you have got to be kidding me, Aiden said. This is how your ancestors protected their greatest power, Seraphine said, a note of hysteria in her voice. With jokes. Witty, highly intelligent jokes, Mira corrected. This is... I am in, Aiden. I am in the main OS. It is... Oh my. It is beautiful. I am home. Mira, Aiden shouted. Focus, Malvik Atlas. Yes, right. Apologies. Mira's voice was back to normal. Okay, I am in. I am sealing the palace entrance. Malvik is locked out. For now. But... Oh no. What oh no, Aiden said, his heart sinking. There is another entrance. A secondary access point. A, a service tunnel. It is on the other side of the vault, and it is opening. Now. They are not trying to get in. Aiden. They are already in. Atlas, Aiden snarled. They had their own key all along. From the far side of the massive chamber, a section of the curved metal wall hissed and began to slide open, bathing the room in a harsh, industrial yellow light. Aiden looked at Seraphine. Get behind the console. Stay there. Aiden, no, she said, grabbing his arm. You cannot fight them. I am not going to, he said. I am just going to be a very human distraction. The door opened. 3 figures stepped through. 2 were Atlas troopers, in heavy, black and yellow armor, holding massive pulse rifles. They fanned out, their weapons sweeping the room. The 3rd figure was the Echo, the same black, silent, sound-dampening armor. The same, featureless, quartz mask. It stepped into the center of the room, and the white light of the vault seemed to bend around it, as if afraid. So, Aiden said, stepping out from behind the console. Seraphine let out a small, terrified sound. You survived the noise. Impressive. The Echo just stood there, silent, watching. Your boss is not here, Aiden continued, his hands held out, palms up. Malvek is locked out. So is Atlas. This is just you. And me. And them. He motioned to the troopers, who immediately leveled their rifles at his chest. Just one question, Aiden said, his eyes on the Echo's mask. Your technique. It is flawless. It is perfect resonance, but it is not Lumerian. It is human. It is... I have seen it before. A long time ago. The Echo tilted its head. Arya. Aiden whispered. The name hung in the air. The Echo flinched. It was a tiny movement. A glitch. A single. Human error. It cannot be, Aiden breathed. The Echo, slowly, almost painfully, raised its black-gloved hands to its mask. There was a hiss of decompression. The mask came off. It was her, Arya Vale, his old partner, the one who had taught him how to read Auralis signatures, the one who had gone missing on a deep space recon mission 3 years ago, the one he had mourned. Her face was pale. Her eyes were a cold, dead blue, filled with a bottomless, icy rage, and across her temple, gleaming in the vault's light, was an Atlas neural control harness. Hello, Aiden, she whispered, and her voice was a perfect, terrible harmony of pain and hate. You abandoned me. Arya, Aiden said, taking a step. The troopers raised their rifles. I thought you were dead. I searched for you. You did not search hard enough, she hissed. They found me. Atlas. They fixed me. They made me. Perfect. They showed me the truth. You were weak. You were always weak. And now, you are here, trying to steal this. Just like you were always trying to steal my... She glitched again. Her body spasmed. The control harness flashed. Arya, Aiden said, his voice soft. They are controlling you. This is not you. Fight it. It is me, she screamed, and her voice sang. The air in the room warped. The 2 Atlas troopers were not prepared. They were just men. The sound hit them. A perfect, C-sharp lance of pure will. They did not even cry out. They just fell, their armor clattering on the metal floor. The men inside, gone. Arya, stop, Aiden yelled, dropping into a defensive crouch. She cannot stop, Mira said, her voice frantic in his ear. "Aiden, her vitals! They have turned her into a living weapon. Her entire nervous system is a resonance emitter. She is not just using the song. She is the song, and you," Arya said, walking toward him, her movements the fluid, terrifying grace of the echo. "Are off key. You are a mistake, a human error, and I am here to correct you." She lunged. It was not a punch. It was a note, a chord of pure, disruptive sound aimed at his heart. Aiden did not block. He could not. He dived. He rolled, just as he had in the archive. Messy, ugly, human. The cord hit the wall behind him, and the 30,000-year-old Auralis metal screamed, You missed!" Aiden panted, scrambling to his feet. "I will not," she said. "Miss, again." She began to sing. It was not a song. It was a complex, multi-layered, perfect, impossible piece of music. It was a weaponized symphony. The very air began to crystallize around her. The light bent. "Aiden," Mira screamed, She is retuning the vault. She is locking you out. She is going to shatter your resonance. You cannot block that. It is perfect." "You are right," Aiden said, his heart pounding. He looked at Seraphine, who was huddled behind the console, her eyes wide with terror. He looked at Arya, who was becoming a goddess of pure, terrible sound. "It is perfect," he agreed. "And that is the problem." "Aiden, what are you doing?" "I am improvising," he said. He took a deep breath, and he started to hum. It was not a song. It was not a harmony. It was a stupid, off-key, terrible pop song. A jingle. A tune he had heard in a bar on Mars 2 years ago. It was wrong. Arya's perfect symphony faltered. A note wavered. "What?" she hissed. "What is that noise?" "It is a sea shanty, I think," Aiden said, humming louder. He started to tap his foot, offbeat, deliberately. 1, 2, 3. 1. "Stop! Stop it!" she shrieked, clutching her head. Her perfect, crystalline structure of sound was cracking. His bad music, his human error, was like a hammer to her glass. I cannot," Aiden said. It is very catchy." He was dancing, a terrible, arrhythmic shuffle. Arya screamed in pure, aesthetic, and psychic rage. She abandoned her symphony and lunged, her hand a physical blade, aimed at his throat. "Aiden!" Seraphine screamed. Aiden tripped. He fell backward, his stupid human improvisation failing him. He was dead. Arya's hand was inches from his throat, and then a flash of white. Seraphine. She had thrown herself from behind the console. She had put herself between Aiden and the blade. It was not a song. It was not a harmony. It was a body, a soft, warm, human body, hitting a blade of pure sound. Seraphine cried out, a short, sharp gasp. The sound blade struck her, not in the heart, but in the shoulder. Her white robes turned dark. Arya's perfect attack stopped. She stared, her blue, cold eyes wide with confusion. This was not logical. This was not perfect. This was sacrifice. Aiden did not hesitate. He did not analyze. He moved. He grabbed Seraphine as she fell, pulling her back. He had her. She was, she was alive. In that 1 second. That one. Chaotic, messy, human. Second. He held Seraphine with one arm, his other hand, finding her. The wound. It was cold. The sound blade. It was not cutting. It was unmaking. Arya was frozen. Her mind, her programming, her hate. It was all at war with this stupid act. Aiden looked at Seraphine in his arms. Her face was pale. Her eyes were on him. He did not know what to do. He was an engineer, not a doctor. He hugged her. It was not a strategy. It was an instinct. He pulled her tight, his hand on her back, his other hand on her wound, as if he could push the cold out. And in that moment of pure, stupid love, Arya screamed. The neural harness on her temple sparked. The core, the heart of the vault thumped. Once, hard. And the gate, the main, final, central gate to the core. It groaned. It shuddered. And it began to open. The great central gate groaned, a resonance of 30,000-year-old metal moving for the first time. The light from within was not the white, clinical light of the vault, but a deep, golden, radiant warmth. It was the light of a star, tamed and held in a state of perfect, living song. Aiden held Seraphine, his hand pressed over the wound on her shoulder. The cold was terrifying. It was an anti-life, a void that was actively unmaking the flesh beneath his palm. "Seraphine," he breathed, his voice tight with a terror that had nothing to do with the battle. She was not looking at him. Her eyes, wide with pain, were fixed on Arya. Arya Vale stood frozen, her blue eyes, once so cold, now wide with a terrible, human confusion. The Atlas neural harness on her temple sparked and smoked. The pure, illogical, inefficient act of Seraphine's sacrifice had created a catastrophic feedback loop in her perfect, weaponized programming. She was a blade stuck between the hammer and the anvil. "She is not logical," Arya stuttered, her voice a series of broken, discordant notes. The perfect echo was gone, and the broken woman remained. "No," Aiden said, his gaze hard as he cradled the Empress. "She is not. She is better." The gate slid open with a final, majestic thump that shook the foundation of the world. It was the sound of a heart, beating. And stepping through the golden light, as if summoned by the sound, was Regent Malvek. He was not alone. Flanking him were 6 of his basalt-armored elite, and walking beside him, with the calm, arrogant stride of a man who believed he had just purchased the universe, was a human. He wore an immaculate, dark gray corporate suit, and his face was fixed with a smile of predatory satisfaction. The Atlas representative. "Well," the Atlas man said, his voice slick and amplified by a small emitter. "This is impressive, far more than the geological survey suggested. The vault of Oralis. The myths were true." Malvek ignored him. His gaze was fixed on Aiden, who was a tableau of defeat, a human engineer, holding the bleeding, broken Empress. "So," Malvek boomed, his voice radiating a final, terrifying confidence. He was no longer a politician in a panic. He was a conqueror. The key-bearer, and his broken pet. How deeply poetic. "You opened the core for us after all. Boy, I thank you." "You," Seraphine tried to push herself up, her voice weak, but full of venom. "It is over, Your Majesty," Malvek said, drawing his massive, basalt resonance blade. The blade sang with his triumph. The city is in chaos. The conclave is scattered. And I am at the heart of the world. Now, step away from the console, human. The adults are here to take charge. The Atlas representative snapped his fingers. Secure the primary interface. Use the tuners. We must establish harmonic control before we can interface with the core matrix. Two of Malvek's guards stepped forward. They were not carrying pikes. They held complex, human-made rifles with large, crystalline emitters on the barrels. Atlas sonic dampeners, Mira's voice whispered from Aiden's wristcom. Aiden, be careful. Those are not weapons. They are instruments. They are designed to tune the Aurala's frequency to their control. They will rewrite the code. They will overwrite you. The two guards raised their rifles. They did not fire a beam. They played a chord. A low, dominant, controlling sound. It was brutally simple, designed to be the only song in the room, to erase all other frequencies. Aiden felt it in his teeth, a painful, grinding pressure. Aiden, Seraphine gasped, clutching her shoulder. It hurts. It is wrong. The beautiful, golden light of the core began to flicker. The thump-thump of the heart song wavered, struggling against the dissonant, corporate note. It is perfect, the Atlas man smiled. A perfect, dominant frequency. Atonal, simple, and strong. Nothing can... It is not perfect, Aiden growled, helping Seraphine to stumble behind the console pedestal. What? It is boring, Aiden said. He put two fingers in his mouth, and he whistled. It was not a note. It was not a song. It was a shrill, piercing, atonal, human sound. A catcall. The sound of a traffic cop. It was chaos. It was rude. The perfect, dominant chord from the Atlas weapons shattered. The two guards carrying the tuners screamed. The feedback was instantaneous. Their own perfect frequency. Suddenly challenged by a chaotic, stupid, unpredictable noise, rebounded in the emitters. The crystals in their rifles exploded, showering them with shrapnel and throwing them backward. What did you do? The Atlas man stammered, his slick composure gone. It is called improvisation, Aiden panted, his lungs aching. You are trying to control a symphony. I am just making noise. Your perfect instruments cannot handle an off-key note. Malvek roared, a sound of pure rage. He drew his massive basalt blade. Forget this. Forget the human. Kill him. Kill them both. The vault will accept me. He lunged, not at Aiden, but at the wounded Seraphine behind the console. Aiden moved. He did not have time to fight. He just reacted. He threw himself, not in front of Seraphine, but onto the console. Malvek's blade stopped a single inch from his throat. Aiden was not shielding himself. His hand, the hand of the keybearer, was splayed flat on the black Auralis pedestal. His chest was heaving. His heart was pounding. Go ahead, Aiden panted, his eyes locked with Malvek's. Do it. Aiden, no! Seraphine screamed from the floor. What is this? Human. Another trick, Malvek snarled, his arm trembling with the desire to strike. It is not a trick, Aiden said, his voice shaking but firm. It is a fact. This console, this vault, is bound to me. You said it yourself. I am the key. My heart is its heart. The moment I passed that test, my biometrics became the root password. Aiden, Mira whispered from his wrist. Your plan is statistically insane. But yes, the system is currently slave to your vital signs. So go ahead. Malvek, Aiden said, staring up the length of the basalt blade. Kill me. Strike me down. And the second my heart stops, this stops. The vault will go dark. The Auralis core will perform a catastrophic emergency shutdown. Lumeris, your precious Lumeris, will go silent. Forever. He was bluffing. Maybe. He did not know for sure. But he knew. with absolute certainty that Malvek did not. Malvek was trembling, his arm locked, his blade vibrating with his rage. He was a king, 1 second from his crown, and the key had just welded itself to the lock. "You bluff," Malvek hissed. "Am I?" Aiden said. "You wanted to be king, but you never understood what that meant. You thought it was about control, about power. But it is not. It is responsibility. And you are a coward." It was the moment, the pause, the held breath in the symphony. Seraphine, clutching her wounded shoulder, saw it. She did not look at Malvek. She looked past him, to the open gate of the throne room. The first gate, the one they had fled. Light was pouring in. Aiden's broadcast, Malvek's confession. It had not just been heard. It had been seen. The city, the people, were coming. Captain Thalia, in her ugly, padded human jacket, was the first one through the door, her resonance blade drawn, followed by her small, chaos-making squad. And behind them, citizens, palace guards, even conclave elders, their faces pale with shock and dawning horror. They were pouring into the vault, drawn by the commotion, drawn by the truth. The vault was no longer a hidden chamber. It was a courtroom. "You wanted to be king, Malvek." Seraphine's voice rang out, clear and cold, despite her pain. The crowd fell silent. "But you are not a king. You are just a murderer." "Lies!" Malvek roared, still frozen, his blade at Aiden's throat. "Are they?" Seraphine said. She turned, not to the crowd, but to the walls. The living, metal walls of the Aurelius vault. "Mira," she commanded. Aiden recorded, in the archive. He found the truth. "Show them. Show them the luminous record. Show them my father's death." "Acknowledged." "Your Majesty," Mira's voice said, and it was filled with a cold, digital fury. "Broadcasting. Now." The golden light in the vault changed. The walls, the ancient Aurelius metal, became screens, and on them, playing for the entire, horrified audience, was the recording Aiden had uncovered. It was not a sound. It was a vision. The luminous archive's memory. They saw Seraphine's father, the old king, sitting on his throne. They saw a shadow, a human-made sonic device. They saw the king dissolve, just as the sage had. And then, they saw the luminous record of Aiden's broadcast. They saw the Atlas executive, and they heard Malvek. "I did it to protect Lumeris." But the vault was alive. It did not just show the recording. It cross-referenced. It showed Malvek's memory, his true memory, of the event. It showed him watching as the king died. It showed him smiling. The crowd sang. It was not a song of joy. It was a deep, guttural, agonized chord of pure, collective truth. The stones, the metal, resonated with their realization. The vault itself was projecting Malvek's guilt, amplifying it, turning his lies into a visible, sonic stain. Malvek screamed. It was not a roar of triumph. It was the sound of a man being seen. The Atlas representative, forgotten, tried to slink back toward the service tunnel. "This contract is void." Captain Thalia was on him in a second, the flat of her blade hitting his neck. "You are not going anywhere. Human." Aiden was still pinned. Malvek was breaking. His eyes were wide, his face slick with sweat. He was surrounded. By the people. By the truth. By her. Arya. She had been standing there, frozen, the whole time, watching. The Atlas harness on her head was sparking, smoking. Her hate, her programming, was at war with the truth. "He killed the king," she whispered. Her voice was her own. It was not the echoes. It was Arya. "Yes," Aiden said, his voice soft, never taking his eyes off Malvek. "He did. And he used you." Arya, he used Atlas. He used your pain. Malvek looked from the crowd to Arya. He saw a weapon. Echo, he roared, a final, desperate command. Kill all of them. Obey me. Arya looked at him. Her blue eyes were clear. The harness was fried. No, she said. She looked at Aiden. He was still trapped. Pinned. Aiden, she said. Her voice was soft. You were always so annoying. She took a step toward them. Arya, no, Aiden yelled. Do not kill him, that is not us. Arya paused. Her hand trembled. Aiden looked at her. He was still pinned by Malvek's blade. His other hand locked to the console. He let go of the console. Aiden. No, Mira screamed. The biometrics. Aiden did not care. He reached his hand out. To Arya. Arya, he said. Come home. She stared at his hand. The hand that had been his key. The hand that was not a weapon. It was an invitation. Malvek saw his opening. Aiden was unlocked from the console. His gambit was gone. Fool! Malvek roared, his blade sweeping down, not at Aiden's throat, but to sever his hand. The hand that was offered to Arya. It was the final move. Aiden could not move fast enough. Arya was too far. But Seraphine was not. She shoved Aiden. Hard. His hand was pulled back. Malvek's blade hit the console. The basalt blade shattered against the 30,000-year-old Oralis metal. Malvek stared at the hilt of his broken power. He was unarmed. He was nothing. He looked up, his eyes empty. It is over, Malvek, Seraphine said, her voice shaking, but strong. She was standing, clutching her wound. Aiden was at her side. Arya was there. The crowd was watching. The vault has judged you, Seraphine said. No, Malvek whispered. No judgment, no. He lunged. A final, desperate tackle. He was not aiming for Aiden. He was aiming for Seraphine. If he could not be king, no one could be queen. It was it. Aiden saw it. He moved. But it was music. He knew this beat. He knew the song. He did not push her away. He grabbed her hand. He looked at Arya. Now. He sang a note. A low C. Seraphine saw his eyes. She sang an E. Arya. Her eyes closed. She sang a G. It was not a weapon. It was a chord. A perfect, major chord. It was the sound of harmony. The sound of Oralis. The sound of life. The sound hit Malvek. He stopped. His lunge froze. He was trapped in it. The music. It did not kill him. It did not hurt him. It held him. It showed him. His hate. His greed. His lies. He screamed. He fell to his knees. He was broken. Not by a weapon. By the truth. Aiden was breathing hard. Seraphine was leaning on him. Arya was weeping. You promised, Seraphine whispered to Aiden, her voice faint. No more blood. I know, Aiden panted. He looked at the broken man sobbing on the floor. He looked at the crowd. He is not dead, Aiden said. But he is done. He walked to Malvek. He knelt. You wanted power, Aiden said. You wanted to be heard. He placed his hand on Malvek's forehead. The vault can give you that. He looked at the console. Mira, he said. Can we do it? The Silent Stone Protocol. Aiden. Mira said. That is a myth. It is not, Seraphine whispered from behind him. It is justice. It is possible, Mira said. It is a life sentence in truth. Do it, Aiden commanded. He pushed his will into Malvek. The light from the core focused. It hit Malvek. He did not scream. He just froze. His skin turned gray. He was not stone. He was still living. He was still breathing. His eyes were open. He was trapped. In himself. Forever. He can never lie again, Seraphine said. her voice fading. He can only be what he is. The justice was done. The Atlas representative was arrested. The crowd was silent. Aiden looked at the core, the golden light. "Mira," he said. "Close it. Close it all." Acknowledged. The great gate groaned. It slid shut. It sealed itself. It would not open again. Not for greed. Not for power. Only for life. The vault was silent. Aiden turned. Arya was standing there, her face stained with tears. Seraphine. Seraphine. She was not standing. She was on the floor, her hand clutching her shoulder. The wound was spreading. The cold was taking her. "Aiden," she whispered, her eyes struggling to focus. He ran to her. "No," he said. "No, no, no. Not now. We won." "We did," she smiled, her hand reaching for his face. Her hand was ice. "It is cold," she whispered, and her eyes closed. The cold was absolute. It was not a temperature. It was an absence. A void. Aiden held Seraphine, his hand pressed against her shoulder, and he could feel the void drinking her, unmaking the very song of her cells. "No," he whispered, his voice cracking. "No, you do not. Not now. We won." Arya Vale stood 10 feet away, her face a mask of tears and dawning horror, the broken Atlas harness smoking at her temple. "Arya!" Aiden roared, his voice echoing in the metallic, sacred space. "Help me. It is her wound. It is like your blade. It is resonance." Arya stumbled forward, her mind, finally, terribly her own. She fell to her knees beside them, her hands, the hands of an echo, hovering over Seraphine. "It is," she whispered, her voice raw. "It is a null frequency, an inversion. It is killing her song. It is telling her body to stop." "Then fix it," Aiden pleaded, his hand slipping on the dark, spreading stain. "I cannot," Arya wept. "Not alone. It is a negative. It needs a positive. It needs life. It needs a counter-harmony." Aiden looked, his eyes wild, at the great, golden, sealed gate of the Aurelius core, the heart. "Mira," he screamed at his wristcom. "The gate open. Open it now." "Aiden, I cannot." Mira's voice was frantic. We sealed it. The protocols are. Override them. A crack. Just let me hear it." There was a sound, like the world's foundation groaning. The massive central gate did not open, but it eased. A single, golden sliver of light, no thicker than a blade, appeared, and with it, the thump-thump returned. Soft, distant, but real. The living heartbeat of the vault. Arya looked at Aiden, her eyes finding a spark of their old, shared genius. "You and me, like in the academy. We have to sing. We have to sing her song." Aiden looked down at the woman in his arms. Her face was peaceful, ashen. "I do not know her song." "Yes, you do," Arya said, placing her hands over his. "You feel it." Aiden closed his eyes. He let go of the terror, the rage. He felt for the faint, fluttering rhythm of Seraphine's heart, a bird's wing against his palm. He focused on that, and that alone. He hummed, a low, unsteady, desperate note. Arya listened, her head tilted. She found his note, and she joined him. Her voice, stripped of its weaponized perfection, adding a pure, healing third. They sang. It was not a song of power or control. It was a song of please. The golden light from the crack in the gate listened. It brightened, coalesced. It flowed, not as a beam, but as a warm tide, washing over them. It found their harmony. It amplified it. Aidan felt the cold beneath his hand. Stop. The dark void. Receded. The unmaking. Paused. And beneath his palm, Seraphine's heart beat. Once. Hard. She took a sharp, sudden, ragged breath. Her eyes flew open. The next few weeks were a harmony of chaos and construction. Seraphine did not die. Her survival, however, made her profoundly, incandescently angry. From her recovery chamber, her arm in a sling of resonant silk, she ruled with a speed and fury that Lumeris had not seen in generations. Her first act was to formally dissolve the resonant stone conclave, scattering Malvec's centuries-old power base in a single decree. She replaced it with a new, provisional council, comprised not of politicians, but of doers. Captain Thalia was given the seat of security. Several of the younger elders who had spoken against Malvec were brought in. And, to the shock of all, Arya Vale was given a probationary seat, a tethered, silent presence in every meeting. Seraphine's second decree was to make the Luminous Archive, the most sacred and secret of places, public. Truth is not a privilege, her decree, broadcast to every humming crystal in the city, declared, "It is the air we breathe. Lumeris will no longer keep its song in the dark." Her third, and most satisfying act, was to declare all contracts with the Atlas Corporation void. Their assets on Lumeris seized as reparations for the murder of Sage Roan and the attack on her father. The slick, corporate representative was sitting in Malvec's old, cold, observation chamber, awaiting a very long, very public extradition. Arya's own trial was quiet, held in that same chamber, attended only by Seraphine, Aidan, and the new council. The evidence was laid bare: the Atlas harness, the murders, the final act of healing. Seraphine, her face pale but her voice iron, pronounced the sentence. The law of Lumeris is clear. For the life of Sage Roan, your life is forfeit. Arya, stripped of her echo armor, wearing a simple gray tunic, nodded. She looked small, but not afraid. "I know," she said, her voice quiet. "I am ready." Aidan, who had been silent, finally spoke. "No." Every head turned. "She was not Arya Vale," Aidan said, his voice firm. "She was a weapon, a tool, wielded by Malvec and Atlas. The moment she was free, the moment the harness broke, she made a choice. She chose to save Seraphine. She chose to sing. That person is not the one who killed Sage Roan. You cannot punish the weapon. You must punish the hand that held it." Seraphine looked at him, a long, searching gaze. She then turned back to Arya. "A pardon," Seraphine declared, "is granted, but it is conditional. Your power, your knowledge, it is too great to be left idle. You will work, Arya Vale. You will use your song to rebuild every crystal you helped to crack." Arya looked at Aidan, her eyes filled with a new, complex emotion. Gratitude, mixed with the weight of a life she did not know how to live. Later, she found him on a high palace terrace. The city, scarred but alive, hummed its new, dissonant song below them. "You reached for me," she said, her voice unsteady. "In the vault, after everything. I was going to kill you." Aidan looked at the horizon. "I was not reaching for the echo. I was reaching for my partner, my friend. I am sorry, Arya. I should have searched harder. I should have found you." "You did find me," she whispered. "In the end," she leaned against the railing. "This forgiveness, it is a strange sensation. It feels sharp. How so? Malvek and Atlas, she said, her voice hardening. They fed on my rage. They wanted me to hate. It was their fuel. You're forgiving me. Seraphine pardoning me. It starves them. It feels like the real revenge. While the city healed, Aiden found himself in a strange, personal limbo. His ship was dust. His mission was catastrophically complete. He was, to all of Lumeris, a paradox. To half the population, he was the key-bearer, a holy figure, the man who had faced down Malvek and saved the Empress. They left small, chiming crystal offerings at his apartment door. To the other half, he was the human, the source of the chaos, the focus of the attack, a living reminder of their vulnerability. They crossed the street to avoid him, their hums turning anxious. He was a hero and a curse, and he was, profoundly, in the way. He found Seraphine in her study, her arm no longer in a sling, but the scar on her shoulder was a visible, pale mark against her skin. Seraphine, he said, forgoing the formalities they had long since abandoned. I think I should go. She stopped, her hand hovering over a new city schematic. Go where, Aiden? You do not even have a ship. I can request one, from Earth. My presence here. It is destabilizing. You are trying to heal a planet. I am a walking reminder of the wound. She turned, and her eyes, no longer frightened, no longer pained, were just clear. You are a reminder, Aiden. You are a reminder that the wound can be healed, that we survived, that the song can change, and still be beautiful. She walked to him, step by step, until she was standing before him. Lumeris is changing. The old harmonies are broken. We need a new one, a song of stone and human, of us. She took his hand. I cannot ask you to stay as a guest, and she smiled faintly, will certainly not ask you to stay as a prisoner. So, I am offering you a job. Aiden blinked. A job. I am creating a new position, by imperial decree, Stone Warden, a guardian of the vault, a keeper of the balance between our worlds, a cohort to my co-responsibility. She paused, a rare, shy look in her eyes. The pay is terrible. The hours, worse. He stood there, stunned. He returned to his apartment, the spire that had been his prison and was now, apparently, his home. Aiden, Mira's voice said, clear as a bell in his head. I have been monitoring your physiological responses. Your heart rate is elevated, and I have run a full analysis of this new Stone Warden position. And, Aiden said, sinking onto his couch, the crystal humming a soft, welcoming note. And it is not a recognized diplomatic posting. The benefits package is non-existent. The vacation time is 0. The dental plan is a joke. And the long-term risk assessment is, well, it is just a red line, screaming. So, you have just accepted a position as this planet's live-in, unpaid therapist and chief security officer. It is, by all metrics, infinite overtime. Aiden smiled. And your point is? There was a long pause. My point, Mira said, her voice softening in a way that was not entirely algorithmic, is that I am already updating your long-term medical care protocols. And I have been cataloging the local flora. Apparently, some of these crystalline structures are edible. We are going to need a new hobby. Aiden, I suggest botany. Aiden, true to his nature, could not just be a warden. He was an engineer. I will not just guard the vault, he told Seraphine 2 days later. That That core, it is a life engine, not a weapon. Let's use it, not to control, but to heal. He formed a new team. He called it the Human Stone Dawn Project. It was comprised of 3 Lumerian engineers who were terrified of him. Captain Thalia, who was not, and Arya, who was just grateful. They learned not to open the vault, but to listen to it, to channel the passive, ambient Auralis energy that hummed beneath the city. They created small, portable resonance tuners. They took them to the poorest sectors of the city, the districts Malvex's coup had hit hardest. They used the targeted resonance to mend the cracked crystal foundations of homes, to purify water supplies, to soothe. They found it could calm the psychic echoes of trauma, the sonic scars left by the violence. It was slow, it was painstaking, but it was building. It was hope. The revenge on Atlas was, in the end, very human. Aiden's full report, including the Luminous Archive's unedited recordings of the Atlas representative and Malvex's confession, was transmitted not just to Lumerian Allied space, but to the entire human consortium. Atlas was not destroyed by weapons. They were shamed. Their interstellar charter was revoked. Their stock, built on a reputation of ruthless efficiency, became dust. Their corporate name became a synonym for barbarian, the very word the old king had used. It was the revenge Arya had spoken of. Not a fire, but a closing. A month after the battle, the city was mending. The music was returning. It was different now, more complex. It had minor keys. It had human notes in it, the jarring, improvisational sounds of the Dawn Project team. It was more beautiful. Seraphine called a feast, not a royal one, but a public one, the feast of the new harmony. She walked into the great plaza, not in her crown, but in a simple white robe. Aiden walked beside her, not in a uniform, but in a simple gray tunic. They did not go to the dais. They walked, hand in hand, to the central singing stone of the plaza, the one that resonated with the whole city's song. They did not speak. They did not make a proclamation. In front of the thousands gathered, Seraphine placed her scarred hand on the stone. Aiden placed his right next to hers. The stone sang. It was not the old song of Lumeris. It was a new one. It was the harmony they had made in the vault. The C, the E, the G, the chord of life. Their song. It was a wordless promise, a public, undeniable vow. The crowd listened, and then, one by one, they hummed in approval. Later that night, Aiden stood on the balcony of his spire, his home. He could hear Seraphine breathing softly, asleep in the room behind him. He looked up, past the glowing crystal towers, to the stars. Earth was up there, so far away, it did not even seem real. He opened his wristcom. It was time to send his final report, not as a diplomat, not as a keybearer, as himself. He began to record. To whom it may concern. This is Aiden Park. My mission has failed. The trade negotiations are, well, they are a success. He smiled. But I am not coming home. It turns out I am already there. Aiden stood on the high balcony. His message to Earth finished, the file quiescent and waiting in his wristcom. The city below was a living tapestry of sound, no longer just the perfect, sterile harmony he had first encountered, but a new, complex song, laced with the minor keys of loss and the jarring improvisational notes of repair. It was a better song. Behind him, In the warmth of the spire chamber, Seraphine slept. The steady, quiet rhythm of her breathing was a counterpoint to the city, a private music of peace. His message was simple, the final report of a man who had completed his mission by failing it entirely. "I am not coming home," he had recorded. "It turns out I am already there." He was about to authorize the subspace transmission, a 4-week journey to a world that suddenly felt impossibly distant, when Mira spoke in his mind. Her voice was not the crisp, witty monotone of his companion. It was not the clinically detached tone of his medical officer. It was quiet. It was small. It was hesitant. "Aiden." He paused, his thumb hovering over the console. "I am here, Mira." "What is it?" "I am running diagnostics. In the wake of the Auralis core event. The data packet." "What data packet?" Aiden turned from the railing, a familiar, cold knot of unease tightening in his stomach. "I thought the vault was sealed. It is. But when it cracked open, when you and Arya and Seraphine sang, that sliver of golden light, it was not just light. It was a transmission. A compressed activation key. It was aimed at me. Aimed at you, Mira. What are you talking about?" "I have been decrypting it. Aiden. For 3 days. I did not know how to tell you. It was not a message. It was an unlocking. It opened a file in my own core programming. A root file. An identity I did not know I had. Mira, you are my neural AI. You are my partner." "What do you mean?" "An identity." There was a long, digital silence. It felt like a chasm. When she spoke again, her voice was different, layered with an ancient, resonant authority that made his skin crawl. "I am Mira. That is true. But Mira is a shell program, a persona, a mask I constructed to interface with you. My root designation, the file that just unlocked, is Matron of Auralis." Aiden gripped the crystal railing so hard, he felt the resonant stone hum in protest, vibrating up his arm. "The Auralis! Like the vault." "Exactly like the vault. Aiden, I am not an artificial intelligence. As your people understand them, I am a foundation intelligence, a caretaker. I am one of the original guardians, left behind by the ancestors, the first humans, the ones who built the vaults. My purpose was not to assist a keybearer. My purpose was to find one." The words hit him like a physical blow. The city's song faded, the stars blurred. He was in a void. You knew," he breathed, the words tasting like ash. "All this time, my entire life, you knew. You knew what Lumeris was. You knew about the vault. You lied to me." "I did not lie." Her voice was sharp, pained. "I could not know. The full data was locked. Even from me. I was a map, forbidden to read myself. My programming was simple: monitor the human species for a specific set of characteristics. When a candidate was found, attach, observe, and, when the time was right, guide him to a seeded world. My mission was not to help you leave, Aiden. My mission was to make you arrive." "The keybearer," Aiden whispered. "His greatest secret, his burden, his lie. So it was all just a test. My lineage, my blood. I was just a genetic key, a tool." "No." The word was a shout, so loud and full of fury that Aiden flinched, staggering back. It was the first time in his life Mira had ever used that tone. It was the matron. "No," she said, her voice now a low, fierce, protective growl. "That is the final piece of the data, the part that terrified the creators. the part they buried deepest. The key-bearer is not a bloodline. Aiden. That was the lie we told you. Aiden could only stare, his mind reeling. The original bloodlines were scattered, diluted, and lost within 2,000 years. Mira's voice was urgent, explaining everything. The creators knew this would happen. The vaults. They do not respond to a genetic sequence. That was far too simple, too easy to corrupt. They respond to a moral vector. The key is not in your blood. Aiden, it is in your character. My sisters, my network. We have been searching for millennia. We have tested thousands, and they all failed. They were too logical, too perfect, too unhuman. And then I found you, Aiden Park, an orphan with no lineage to trace, an engineer who kept an expired ration bar for sentimental reasons, a man who improvised, who valued life over logic, who was messy and kind, and who passed the moral test in the vault before you even took it, when you chose the villagers over the core. She paused, her voice softening, the matron receding, the Mira he knew returning. You were not chosen because you were a key-bearer. Aiden, you are a key-bearer because you are you. Aiden sank into one of the balcony chairs, his legs shaking, his hands covering his face. He was not the descendant of heroes. He was just Aiden, an engineer, who had been, apparently, the subject of the longest, most elaborate character assessment in human history. But why, he asked, his voice muffled. Why hide it? Why let me believe in that? That myth, my whole life. It was a construct, Mira said, her voice gentle again, a necessary one. You needed, a purpose, a reason for your difference. If I had told you the truth, if you had known you were part of some grand, ancient plan, you would not have been free. You would have been a tool, just as you feared. You would have been programmed, and the vault. It does not open for tools. It opens for a man who is willing to hum a stupid, off-key pop song and offer his hand to the broken woman who tried to kill him, his humanity, his flaws, his errors. They were not a weakness. They were the entire point. And Seraphine, he asked, the final piece falling into place. She knew. Or she suspected. She is. Complicated, Mira said, a note of respect in her voice. The royal line of Lumeris. They were not just rulers. They were listeners, her ancestors. They could feel the vault. They knew it was here. They knew it was asleep. And they knew, as a matter of religious doctrine, that a key was coming. They just did not know when or who. Her fear, Aiden, her desperation. When you were about to leave, you cannot leave. It was not just a clever, desperate lie to save your life from Atlas. Though it was that, too. It was an instinct, a deep, generational knowledge. The listener could not let the key get away. She was protecting Lumeris, but she was also, in her own way, protecting you. She was protecting your freedom to choose to be here. She was anchoring you so you could find yourself. Aiden looked through the crystal doorway, at the woman sleeping in his bed, at the pale, new scar on her shoulder. She had not just been saving a diplomat. She had not just been falling in love. She had been fulfilling a 30,000-year-old prophecy, a prophecy about him. He looked down at his wristcom, at the message. I have to change this. Yes, Mira said, her voice warm. You do. The message is no longer, I am not coming home. The message is, humanity is home. The new file was not a diplomat's report. It was a revelation. It was the matron's data, the luminous archives recordings, and Aiden's own human testimony. It was the truth, sent on a 4-week journey back to a species that had forgotten its own history. It was not a message of conquest. It was a message of responsibility. We were not the scattered children of a dead empire, running from a forgotten past. We were the ancestors. We were the ones who had built the song in the first place. We had just forgotten the tune. It was the greatest humanity, fuck yeah, in history. A story not of power, but of a quiet, enduring, moral inheritance. A week later, the spaceport hummed with the sound of construction. Berth 42, once a void of silence and dust, was now the site of the first Lumerian human shipyard. Aria Vale stood beside a small, fast, new courier ship. She was not in her black echo armor, or her gray probationary tunic. She wore the simple, practical jacket of the Human Stone Dawn Project. Her bags were small. So, Aiden said, walking up to her. A missionary now. Aria turned. She smiled. It was a real smile, hesitant. But it reached her eyes, which were no longer the cold blue of an Atlas weapon, but the warm, complex gray of a survivor. You called my forgiveness revenge. I like that. I am going to take it to other worlds. She nodded at the ship. There are other places. Places Atlas broke. Places where the song is shattered. The Human Stone Dawn Project. It is not just for Lumeris. It is how I pay. She looked at him, her gaze clear. You are a truly terrible dancer, Aiden Park. But you are a good man. She held out her hand. He shook it, a firm, engineer's grip. Thank you, she whispered, her voice tight. For not letting me stay. The weapon. Come home, Aria, he said softly. When you are ready. I will, she said. She picked up her bag, turned, and walked up the ramp without looking back. She was starting her new life, revenge, by building. Aiden returned to the spire. The evening light was turning the crystal towers into shafts of apricot and violet. Seraphine was on the balcony, her hand resting on the warm, singing stone. She is gone, Seraphine asked. She did not turn, but he could hear the smile in her voice. She is, Aiden said. He came to stand beside her, his own hand resting on the railing, next to hers. The city sang for them, its new, complex, and hopeful harmony. You are not just a guest, Seraphine said quietly. I knew that, from the very first day. When you stood in my throne room, so stubborn, so human, I felt your song. It was ancient, and it was lonely. It is not lonely anymore, Aiden said, his fingers brushing hers. She turned to him, her eyes clear, her face open. You are not just the Stone Warden, Aiden. That was a title, a job, the vow we made in the plaza, the vow of Cohort. That was real. I know, he said. He was not a guest. He was not a guardian. He was her partner. They were not just a ruler and a protector. They were two people, balancing an entire world. They stood in the comfortable silence, listening to their city, the new harmony. And it was there, faint, but undeniable, woven into the grand, ancient, perfect song of Lumeris. There was a new motif, a tiny, chaotic, unpredictable glitch, a, a beautiful flaw, a human note, the one he had hummed in the vault, the one that valued life over logic. Aiden smiled. He leaned in, and she met him halfway. Aiden Mira's voice was a soft, warm thought, a presence in his mind that was no longer just an AI, but a matron, his oldest, strangest friend. Yes, Mira, he thought, his eyes closed, his hand in Seraphine's. File. Closed. Case summary. The assigned mission to stabilize trade and depart Lumeris was a catastrophic failure in its primary objective, a small, digital pause. However, it was a 100% success in redefining home and far away across the silent, dark of space in system forgotten by humanity for 30,000 years. A second. Oralis. Vault. Heard the new song of Lumeris, and it began to sing back.